KTSA Connecticut Quality Water Softeners newsmaker line by one of the declared Republican candidates for House District 23 to replace Congressman Will Hurd, Republican, and retired Lieutenant Colonel Raul Reyes is joining us on KTSA. Colonel, good afternoon. Welcome back to the show.
Hey there. How are you, Jack? It's good to be back. I know I was here a while back, and a lot of stuff has happened. So, retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, running as a staunch conservative Trump Republican. Glad to be back on your show.
We were talking to one of your rivals the other day, and he was talking about how he has the endorsement of Congressman Hurd. Would you have wanted that endorsement, or do you feel better without it, or what's your reaction to that?
I would have run from that endorsement, and what that'll tell you is, my opponent, he's not from the district originally. If he was, he would have known how disgruntled the constituents of 23 were with Mr. Hurd. In fact, I jumped into the race back in May because I was one of those constituents. I resigned my position over at Randolph Air Force Base and took on Mr. Hurd when it wasn't cool and or kosher to do it. And here we are, 45 town halls later. But the answer is I never sought it. I don't want it. I'm the guy who challenged him to begin with.
You say that you're the most qualified candidate in the field. What is it that makes you the most qualified candidate?
Yep. Air Force lieutenant colonels, we get to lead at some of the strategic, high levels, some of the most highest clearances we have. In my particular case, aside from, managing and being a commander in the Air Force and leading and making sure that the airmen under my command would get home safely, I was privy to be down in Central and South America as what most people would call a foreign area officer. And what they do is they got specific regions of the world. For me, it was everything in Central and South America. So I dealt with diplomats, ambassadors, special envoys, both on our side, U.S. government, and of course on theirs. And I'm referring to places like Colombia, Nicaragua, and El Salvador. So I bring a lot of those at operational and strategic planning that we did down there, trying to reduce the illicit cocaine traffic into the U.S. to the battle and to Congress. I can't wait to, inform some of my fellow congressmen on how we can solve this problem.
Let's talk a little bit about the border. And there was an op-ed piece in the New York Times today arguing that Mexico's president, Obrador, is now essentially the wall. Meaning, and they're lamenting this, they don't think it's a good thing, but they believe Obrador has become such a hard liner on illegal border crossings that Trump got his wall in Obrador. Do you agree with that or disagree with that, or what do you think?
I don't know that I agree. Obrador, AMLO is what they, refer him to as. Sure, I think what he's finding out is trade is being impacted, so he's being pushed to say something. But it's the Reagan mentality. Trust but verify. The bottom line is it could. This is the New York Times lamenting, and so this could be one of those. AMLO is going to be the wall for us. Well, no, we need a real wall. We need a physical wall. Our professionals in the Border Patrol are requiring that from years ago. Donald Trump's the only one doing everything he can with a few folks in Congress that are trying to supply the resources to make it happen. So, I'm going to go back to trust and verify with the Mexican president.
And we're talking with Raul Reyes, who's one of the Republican candidates in U.S. House District 23. We're catching up with all of them again a couple more times before we get to primary day. So one of the things that Will Hurd said when he left or announced he was going to leave that House seat is that he wanted to go out and expand the Republican Party and recruit people who are not traditional Republicans or to whom Republicans haven't traditionally appealed. Is he right that Republicans need to do a better job on that? And what do you do about that?
Yeah, the philosophy that Mr. Hurd provides requires that if you're going to abide by what he's saying and go down that road, it's going to require that you sacrifice your conservative values, and nothing could be further from the truth. And by the way, he's endorsed one of my opponents. And so for all the folks out there, if you want her 2.0, then, that's your guy. But, we got into this to, defend the nation at the Texas border, because it's 800 miles, and build this wall, fix a lot of things that need to be fixed with asylum.
But isn't even, if you look at President Trump in the State of the Union this week, the big takeaway from that was that he is really doing outreach to African American voters and Hispanic voters and saying, hey, you ought to give me a chance. You've given your vote away and they've done nothing to earn it, the other party. Take a look at me. Isn't that a good message for Republicans to have?
It is. The Donald Trump reach messages is spot on, but we're not going to do it at the expense of our morals and our values and our conservative constitutional foundations. And that's the difference between Mr. Trump and Mr. Hurd. Is I'm with Mr. Trump. It's part of why there's a lot of folks walking away from the Democrat Party, but they're going to the Trump Republican Party, and they're ready to walk away from the Democrat Party because they see that we've created jobs. We want security, and we want a better America, an America that is great and is being led by the America First agenda. So, yeah, that's two different stance. Mr. Hurd is on another planet when he says that to broaden the tent it's going to come at the expense of voting for example, the Equality Act, and that's not good.
Retired Lieutenant Colonel Raul Reyes, one of the Republican candidates. Colonel, thanks for coming on. I hope we can talk to you again soon, and look forward to that.
Jack, thanks for having me. Appreciate it, and God bless all of you.
All right.